We've seen plenty of attempts in the recent past to resurrect, so to speak, the vampire trend that has been existent for a while in the horror and thriller cinema, alongside many other trends, especially as of late. Let's say, for example, clowns, nuns, zombies, sharks, and dinos. Vampires is an ever-dominant one, as it's been for, cinematic history. These are one of the foundational monster movie-type adversaries. And Renfield is the latest entry, amid perhaps a spattering of films that maybe have boasted some promise, others perhaps have debuted to unsuccessful performance. I'm sure you could name many examples. And there's plenty of movies as well of recent years that I haven't even engaged with yet, that I'm not aware of, but I know based on my list of how many vampire titles there's been plenty of attempts to bring this type of film back. And Renfield is the latest entry. I think from what I've seen of it, based on one trailer, it's obviously got a larger influence via studio backing from Universal. It has a pretty good cast, 2 Nicks in fact. It didn't dawn on me when I first covered this, even though Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult are both draws. So like I said, the 2 Nicks movies, and they're in fact playing, Master and Apprentice? Or Henchman. Different title. Awkwafina, Ben Schwartz, Shohreh Aghdashloo, I'm a huge fan of. A lot of big names here. With a mixture of a comedy background, which I would easily assume based on Nicholas Hoult, Awkwafina, and Ben Schwartz. I think they fit quite well with that energy. And the first trailer offered, I think, a pretty insightful vision on what to expect. I was pretty pleased with Renfield on a first delivery. And, Universal's done pretty well in the horror landscape as of late. Violent Night, Megan, those types of films have boasted broad appeal. Renfield could be a successful resurgence, maybe to bring back again a vampire trend that's been lingering a bit. I would say it was really in its heyday when Twilight debuted, but since those films have I think faded a bit in attention, I never even personally engaged with them. There are attempts to bring it back, and perhaps Renfield will be a successful play. Let's take a look at its final trailer and see. I figured it would get at least one, because we're nearing the release date of April 14th pretty steadily, but I'm interested by it. Here we go.
Mr. Renfield, welcome. I am Dracula.
And they did go well then with the costume. I mean, Nicolas Cage has been in so many films lately. In terms of adversary roles, I'm not exactly sure.
The Catholic Church. Renfield.
Like I said, inspiring levity here makes it a little more engaging and fresh than some of the other competition.
I just want a normal life again.
What did he eat? A spider?
God bless you, Mr. Renfield.
Oh, God bless you, nuns.
You're a hero.
Robert Montague Renfield.
Let me explain. I work for Dracula.
Count Dracula?
It's the real Dracula!
Some call me the Dark One. Others, the Lord of Death.
So you bring him people to eat?
Well, I do other stuff.
Like what? Wash his cape?
No, the cape is dry clean only, strictly.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear this fly, yeah.
I mean, it's cute in some of the line work. I think the first trailer is a bit stronger, honestly. This
Free
is...
until you face him.
I will no longer tolerate abuse. I deserve happiness.
I mean, it's got interesting layers. So it could have a pretty successful script, I would imagine. A good realization for a vampire movie.
Because you betrayed me.
We have to stop him before sunset.
I am enough. I deserve happiness, and I take full charge of
The psychological element I find pretty engaging, and the VFX work I think is pretty strong.
You know when something crazy happens and someone's like, it's okay, I've seen way worse. Everything I saw you do today is gonna be my way worse.
It's my least favorite part of the job.
It really is a mixture of a lot of things. Speaking of tone, you've got a romance movie budding here, you've got a comedy film with horror tones, especially on the VFX work. It's a much more ominous picture. I'm in an interesting space with it. Like I said, there's elements to it that I find of strength. The casting, the comedic levity, in part. I'll explain why I'm saying that in a minute. The psychological layers to the story of someone who's disassociated from Dracula, or at least in feeling, and wants to depart ways, even though it seems he's got a very clingy presence in his life that he, again, wants to shed off any way possible. But who would want to shed off Nick Cage? I mean, he's a great actor, even though he's been in, like, how many projects lately? And in terms of villain roles, again, I forget if he's been in anything recently to fit that line. But realization of Dracula, especially on the VFX side, to me, reminds me a lot of Morbius, which I still have not seen yet, admittedly, but I like the VFX work for that movie quite a bit, even though I understand the film got a generally negative debut, though I have heard positive word from some. So maybe it is, as I said, never a case of cinema being a subjectively determined success or judgment of efficacy or not, again, based on viewer taste. I experienced a bit of a nostalgic kickback with this movie watching it. There are points of strength, for sure, and I did feel that the first trailer left a bit of a better impression for me. Midway through this, and it might be just the comedic style. I don't think it's necessarily the script, maybe some of the jokes, but I experienced this feeling of it falling a bit flat. And I can't necessarily put my finger on a specific moment of why, but it's just this overall sensation I experienced partway through. Even though, as I said, the trailer appears quite strong, and the movie could prove to be a big hit, I think it has potential to be that. There's something about it. Maybe it's just the styling of some of the jokes, or it is some of the precise lines, but some of them just don't click the best for me. Or they border on a feeling of being mundane. I'm not trying to be too harsh, but I'm trying to best understand even just how I feel about it. Because I still think, again, like I said, the film has plenty of potential. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below if you wish to disclose your perspective on what your opinion is of this movie, and if you feel keen on watching it. I mean, again, to see another attempt, we can't determine the success yet, of course, that won't be until mid-April, but to see another attempt at building an emerging trend with some efficacy going forward. Renfield could be a key player in that. And I think, again, like I said, with Universal's familiarity in some of their recent works, there's possibility. And I think the casting's a pretty big draw. I like the psychological layer that's a bit different to other vampire releases that I'm familiar with, and it gives it an interesting flair and originality in its presence. But for me, there's something about it. And I think, again, like I said, it comes down to the element of the humor itself in context to the movie, or just some of the material that does not carry the presence alluded to entirely by the first trailer. If that makes any sense. I hope for a strong release. You know, I try and keep an open mind, of course, in whatever I'm consulting. And I do feel that Renfield, like I said, has a feeling of fun. I just feel maybe some parts it could have been emboldened a little more. Maybe with some stronger joke material. And Awkwafina can be quite funny. You know, I've seen her in other films, and I'm saying Awkwafina as an example here because she seems to be, like I said, a mainstay presence in this movie. She's a draw for me. I know from what I've heard, maybe not necessarily everybody, but I think Awkwafina's pretty funny, given good material. Again, like I said, I'm not really sure what to put my finger on here, but there's just something to the humor that I find in a slight state of wanting, to be fair. I'll keep an open mind with this movie as best I can, because there are draws to it for me. But if I had to be honest, there's smaller elements I would have liked to see more strength employed to the final presentation. I think it's probably a good way to leave it. But I will, like I said, in terms of April, that will be the engaging day, you know, of whether or not the vampire trend can be kicked back up again. And it probably won't be the last, I know it's not the last attempt at trying to do something. But from a major studio, I mean, maybe Universal can bring that to reality. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.